One of the best e-commerce teams that I had the good fortune to work for was the very first. It was a Fortune 500 industrial and gas chemical company that was right there in the very early days of the dot-com boom. Now, their product wasn't exactly a sexy product, industrial gases and chemicals, right? But the environment we were working in was everything you'd expect when you look back at the dot-com boom through rose-colored glasses, right? We were a great group of developers working with a great amount of resources, very much like a startup organization, even though it was a Fortune 500, because we were anxiously trying to beat our competition to market with the first e-commerce platform in the industry. I began there as a developer, working in the war room. It was, just what you'd expect. Whiteboards everywhere, developers and project managers sitting elbow to elbow in cramped spaces, cots all around for sleeping so you could get a nap in and come back and get some more work done. As we got more successful, they had the foosball table there to keep you entertained, junk food everywhere, giant fans to keep the room cool because there was just so many computers and so much processing power. Everything you'd expect in a dot-com boom scenario, right? Loved it, loved it, loved it. And that was in spite of the fact that we were working insane hours around the clock. So why was that? Why was it that even though we were working so hard, literally sleeping at the office and eating at the office, trying to get as much done as we could, why was it that we were still having so much fun? Because we had a great team with great leaders who knew how to inspire and motivate, and yes, it was an exciting time and environment. Move forward there a bit, and I got to work with some other great e-commerce organizations, including Whirlpool Corporation and Herman Miller, both of which where I had the great opportunities to lead global projects for e-commerce platforms and multi-million-dollar efforts, just super exciting projects. Now, today I get to work with Aetna Supply, which if you don't know, they're an awesome, awesome client of mine. They work on e-commerce platforms. They're doing e-commerce platforms too in the distribution field, very much B2B, so I hope you'll enjoy what I have to share with you today. Fantastic people there, fantastic organization. Really consider myself blessed to get to work with them. But throughout my career, although I've gotten to work with all these great organizations and great people, I've also seen the dark side. I've seen a lot of bad leaders too. I myself have not always been the best leader. I myself have probably got some employees who think that I was a bad boss at times, and I fully accept that and receive that. So I share all this not to brag about all the work that I've done and all these great organizations and great teams I've been a part of. Just the opposite. I share it to say that, look, I've not got it all figured out. I've not been perfect all my career. But through it all, I've gotten to see and learn a lot. And here's what I've learned that the great e-commerce leaders do first. Great e-commerce leaders put people before technology. It's so easy to get sucked into technology evaluation and implementation way too soon. Whether you are launching on your first platform, re-platforming an existing store, or looking to add new capabilities, there's a good chance you are evaluating technology solutions too soon. Ensure you understand the problem before you define the solution. Are you defining the solution to a problem you do not yet fully understand? Understand the problem first. For example, how well do you really know your customers' digital and e-commerce needs? To understand e-commerce needs, identify some of your best and worst customers. Ask them to ride along on their jobs for a day. Sit with them while they place their orders. Do they like your competitors' websites and solutions? Why? What do they wish those competitor solutions had? What about your employees? Do you know their challenges and how well do you understand them? Administration tooling should never be the last requirement. Too often, when designing or selecting technology, we consider the tools our employees use last. We focus on the customer requirements, the customer benefits, everything but the impact to our employees. Then, often at the last minute, we ask, and our employees, do they think they have what they need to do on it? They can do it? Great. Check. And yet, we wonder why so often our employees complain about the tools we give them. How would you like it if someone came to you one day and said, hi, I just spent hundreds of hours looking at solutions that you will have to use for several hours a week, and I never asked you what was important to you? Come on. Job shadow them for a day. What makes their job most difficult? What part of their job do they hate the most? What would make them love their job even more? What do they wish technology could do for them but believe is impossible? Involve your employees in the evaluation and selection process. Those who will use the tool should have some say in which tool they must use. Okay, so that you know now the customer and employee needs. What about your partners and suppliers? What do they really need? Try talking to your sales rep or account managers. Do they need a key customer to get them some great testimonial work for them? A great way to really understand your vendor and supplier needs is to work with transparent pricing. Now, I realize these are not always possible, but if you can make it work, it's a fantastic way to create a great long-term relationship. The way it works is basically you reveal your budget and any other possible financials like profit margin, operating expenses, and so forth. So the vendor can understand how much value you are really potentially placing in their technology. Then the vendor does the same in return, reveals costs to develop, team size, expenses, and more so you can understand their profit margin and the risk that they're asking you to take on. Can you find a mutually agreeable value? Great! Then develop a mutual benefit contract. Now, are you working with IBM or SAP? Forget it. If you're working with companies that large, you're going to need an army of lawyers to do this. But if you're working with a small to mid-sized tech company or implementation team, there's a good chance you can make these sort of mutual benefit contracts work. The way these go is you basically establish agreements that reinforce that you both desire some items to get the same benefits. For example, you could offer a bonus if the vendor delivers on time or early, and of course penalties if they deliver late. Or you could offer share of the profit margin for the long term. So if you're doing e-commerce, maybe they get a kickback on a percentage of sales done online. Of course, you probably want to limit that time frame to 6 months or a year or something. But again, that encourages the partners to deliver on time and to meet your needs and to serve your customers better. Now, you've got the partners, you got the vendors, you got the employees. Then and only then should you begin to identify the technology you need to meet all those needs you understand. If you jump into solution identification too soon, you will fall prey to the next shiny object syndrome. There are a million courses and resources out there on finding the right technology, so we're not going to cover that here today. There is one tip I will give you, though, that when you do go to select the technology, make sure you use a decision matrix. This will be covered a little bit later. We're not going to cover it too much detail because this is a short session, but I will go into a little bit more a little bit later. So, put your people before technology. Consider the challenges, expectations, and opportunities for your customers, employees, and partners. Great e-commerce leaders always put the people before the technology. But they also put the vision before the plan. Great e-commerce leaders put the vision before the plan. When was the last time you were motivated to do your very best by a Gantt chart? First this, then we're going to do that. That'll be done by this date. But don't do this before that. Then we'll do that. That'll make this long. That'll take this long, as represented by this green line seen here. It all reminds me of that scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Look, you don't have to be a creative genius. You don't have to write War and Peace. All you have to do to create a great vision is to put some passion behind your vision and describe the future in a manner that motivates your team. Here are a couple of ways that you can do this. First, the do or die vision. The do or die e-commerce vision generally comes in one of two flavors: the common villain or competitor, or the march of evolution. This is the future of your business, and if you don't adapt, any competitor who does will beat you. The common villain. The common villain, who is your biggest, meanest competitor? Amazon, Amazon. Maybe it's not the big guy. Maybe it's a local or regional competitor who's been in a close race with you, but just launched a new website or feature that is luring your customers away. The common villain vision usually paints you as the underdog. It's the David versus Goliath story. You're David, and you better find the right sling and rock, or else you're in trouble. So if David versus Goliath doesn't resonate with you and your team, consider the future of business approach to the vision. The future of business vision is pretty simple. You're either green and growing or ripe and rotting, a la Ray Kroc. If you doubted whether technology was the future of this or just about any business, you wouldn't be here today watching me talk to you about what great e-commerce leaders do. But there will always be naysayers, and chances are you've got a few of these in your organization. There will be some that say things like product or service quality that we offer is far more important than anything that we could offer in technology. To these naysayers, tell them your product quality and services are the table stakes. It is and should be the bare minimum. If you continue to focus on the bare minimum, you're handing your competitors the keys to your customers. Other naysayers will say, no, this business is about relationships. To these naysayers, reply things like, perhaps it is about relationships. Absolutely, good business should be about good relationships. But those relationships are moving online through things like chat, email, and more methods of communication, while also having all the data, facts, history, and more at their fingertips. The third common objection type is the no, our customers just aren't big technology fans, or our customers just will never use technology. Bullcrap. To these folks, I reply something like, perhaps our field or industry is slower to adapt, but employees now entering the workforce today were raised with technology from birth. They will be more and more comfortable with it, and it will be the normal in a matter of years, if not months from now. Whatever your vision is, whether it's a do or die or better life approach, make sure you put the vision out before the plan. Because again, nobody's inspired by a Gantt chart. Necessary? Yes, but it's not something to motivate the team. There is a time and place for measurement, though. Gantt charts and similar tools are vital in most successful e-commerce programs. The great e-commerce leaders know this. They just put them in the right place. To do so, great e-commerce leaders put data before instinct. Great e-commerce leaders put data before instinct. Now, you knew you couldn't hear an e-commerce presentation without hearing about data, right? Well, here you go. I think I'm contractually obligated to say the following terms as an e-commerce expert in any of my talks. Key performance indicator, cart abandonment rate, customer lifetime value, average order value, cost per acquisition, return on investment, gross profit margin, net promoter score, customer satisfaction, conversion rate, bounce rate, and time on site. Now that that's out of the way, seriously though, these are all important data points to track and help guide your e-commerce efforts. There are also a bazillion different speakers, videos, and websites you can read on these, so I'm not going to go into any detail here. The key point I want to talk about is not to focus on these regular metrics alone. Identify the data that matters most to each decision. When you look at an investment or change to your e-commerce site, it's easy to be tempted by instincts or excitement in the marketplace. It's easy to waste a lot of time and money chasing the next shiny object. Don't do it. Instead, bring it back to the data. Here are some good specific data questions that the great e-commerce leaders know how to ask and when to ask. First, what does the data show that we need to change this enhancement? Second, if we're not capturing the necessary data today, how can we capture it moving forward? Also, how will this change or enhancement affect the the data moving forward. And then what is the baseline number for the data points before the change or enhancement is made, obviously so you can track it down the road, which brings us to the next one. What is our target for that data in the next 30, 90, 180 days, and so on? Now, one of the beauties of e-commerce is the accessibility of data and metrics. Make sure you use it, but tailor it to your specific circumstances and needs. Don't just go along with what everybody else is tracking. Look at what you need for each change you're looking to make. This is not to say that instincts don't matter. Putting data before instincts doesn't rule out the necessity of instincts. Quite the contrary. You simply need to put data before instincts. Then you use your instincts. Now, if you're a great leader, especially in e-commerce, your instincts will tell you that relationships with your vendors are important. So you will also put partnership before transactions. Great e-commerce leaders put partnership before transaction. Remember that industrial gas and chemical company where I began my e-commerce career in the 90s? One of the teams I led there was responsible for routing thousands of inbound emails a day. For compliance reasons in that industry, we had to make sure that the right people got the right email no matter where it came. So we identified a need for an email routing solution provider, a system that included a series of rules to assess each email's content and who it needed to reach. Now, we evaluated many vendors and found the one with the greatest capability. But they were a new player and a smaller company. I wanted to impress my boss about how great I could negotiate. So I got this new vendor down to pennies on the dollar compared to their original quote. They wanted our name on their customer examples list. Obviously, it was a big company that got a lot of great attention for them in the marketplace. But because I'd driven them down to such little value, after the purchase, the relationship and implementation soured quickly. There was virtually no support. They'd gotten what they wanted and were basically ready to move on. I couldn't blame them. I mean, the reality is they weren't getting much value out of it. That experience taught me to always put partnerships before transactions. Over time, I began to see building partnerships with third parties through the lens of two different phases. First, the selection phase, and then second, the implementation or operational phase. In the selection phase, great e-commerce leaders recognize that if the sales rep is pushy, you need to get a new rep. It's uncomfortable, but it's reality. If they're clearly more motivated by commission or hitting some target on their goals and you know it, that spells disaster for the future of the relationship. Have the tough conversation sooner than later and get a new representative. If you need tips on wording you can use to do this to soften that blow, email me. I've done it a lot in my career and I'm happy to help. You must enter into any new relationship with a sense of exactly that, though. You are building a new partnership, not a transaction. Now on to the implementation phase. During the implementation and operational phase with partners, treat your partners as partners. When we contract with vendors, we produce transactions. This results in a mutual disrespect from all involved. The contractors don't want to work with you, so their best people are moved to other accounts. The remaining team treats everything as a transactional agreement, doing the least amount possible for the greatest dollar. Rightly so. You've chosen to do it that way. You've treated them like a contract, like a transaction, so they're only responding in kind. In contrast, when we partner with people, we drive solutions. When you lead your internal team, I hope you don't simply throw expectations over the wall with a due date and no clarifications and no supporting details or vision. At least, I hope you don't do that. The same is true with partnerships. With external partnerships, you should still remain engaged and listening to the team, understanding their challenges. Internal or contracted, internal or external, it should all be one team. Still offer encouragement and incentives, listen to their feedback, and ask for their guidance and insights and suggestions. Chances are they're the expert in whatever they're working on. So if you've got a strained relationship with one of your vendors today, maybe you need to reset expectations from a transactional relationship to a partnership. If you have good partnerships, keep them. Don't lose them. This brings us to the last core practice of what great e-commerce leaders do first. They put others before their self. Great e-commerce leaders put others before self. This may sound a bit altruistic to you, but if it does, that is all the more reason why you need to hear this message. Great leaders in e-commerce practice what is known as servant leadership. Does that term bother you somehow? Good, it should. It's meant to shake leaders free from what popular society has confused us to believe. You see, the only reason we need the term servant in front of servant leadership is because society makes us think leadership is an achievement to be reached. It's not. Leadership is a commitment to serve others. Servant leadership is not about being subservient to others. It's not about being subservient to others. It is the most difficult form of leadership you can practice, but it is also the most successful and the most rewarding. Ask any drill instructor or military general about their style of leadership, and chances are servant leadership is a part of their position. I teach entire courses on servant leadership. It's based on decades of research combining teachings from dozens of leadership experts like John Maxwell, Cheryl Batchelder, Ken Blanchard, Peter Drucker, Sheryl Sandberg, and many more. This model distills hundreds of attributes taught by those experts into a simple, memorable acronym for e-commerce and really any leaders to follow. That model is selfless, empathetic, resolute, virtuous, authentic, nonpartisan, and thorough. The first principle for e-commerce leaders to practice is being selfless. I once had the opportunity to present at one of the largest tech conferences in the United States. It was hosted by one of the largest e-commerce vendors. You probably know who I'm talking about. It was a huge venue with about 10,000 people in attendance. Every year they have this conference. There were giant lights, booming music. You've probably been to one of these conferences. Before I went on stage, they brought out one of their executives to give an update on a particular product line. The executive strutted out on stage like a rock star. He kind of looked like one too. He then proceeded to tell this massive audience about all the improvements since the last conference. It went something like this. Since last year's conference, I added the capability to blah, 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 blah. I solved this problem over here. I improved performance here. I developed new features there. Do you see the troubling trend? How do you suppose his team felt, or his customers who gave him feedback and pushed for the changes he's talking about? What about any contractors or vendors who contributed to those massive changes? The size of ego that was parading around on that stage was shocking. Remember, it's not about you or what makes you look good. It's about what's best for the team and those you serve. To help you remember others, practice empathy. Great e-commerce leaders are empathetic. You're probably familiar with the phrase, walk a mile in their shoes. This usually refers to the need to understand others before you judge them. I don't like that phrase. I prefer walk a mile in their muddy boots. See, shoes can be sandals on a sunny beach and a beautiful day. Shoes could be high heels as you're accepting an Academy Award. Shoes could be any day and any time where we often present only our best selves. Instead, great e-commerce leaders seek out their customers' greatest pain points and challenges. They learn what drives them crazy and how we can help. One of my favorite examples is what we did at Aetna Supply. We recognize that many of our customers have their hands full when on the job site. They often work in difficult, uncomfortable, and dirty conditions. So we built in the voice search capability to the mobile app, freeing them from having to drop everything, stop, and clean up before using the app. Don't just walk a mile in your customer or employee's shoes. Walk a mile in their muddy boots. Then have the resolve to meet their needs. Great e-commerce leaders are resolute. I love hearing someone say, because we've always done it that way, or it cannot be done. It's like someone threw down the gauntlet. A challenge has been set. Great e-commerce leaders have the resolve to overcome obstacles where lesser leaders would give up. A great tool to use here is the 5 whys. The 5 whys were popularized by Toyota through lean manufacturing and Six Sigma. Essentially, you keep asking why until there is nothing left to ask. The actual number of whys is irrelevant, whether it's 5, 3, 10. An example from one application we developed in the late 90s would go something like this. Resistance 1. We cannot automate the creation of customer letters, even though we spend a ton of time and money manually recreating these for every customer that confirms the product may be used for their specific purpose. Why? Each letter must be customized and secured in a password-protected PDF format. But back in the 90s, nobody had automated that before. Why? The technology doesn't exist. Back in the 90s. Why? Nobody's created it. Why? We don't know. Okay, let's find out and/or build it. Great e-commerce leaders are resolute. They take resistance not as a final objection, but as opportunities to overcome and do something new and great. Resistance is a motivator, not a blocker. Now, we've all seen leaders, though, who are determined with no respect for others' ethics, morals, or values. So being resolute must be balanced with the next principle of servant leadership, which is being virtuous. Great e-commerce leaders are virtuous. My personal values, mission, and vision are guided by the knowledge of something bigger in my life. You see, I am a follower of Jesus Christ. If you want to know more about my faith and his role in my life, please email me. You may call God by other names. You may practice other religions. In fact, you may be agnostic or atheist and have a strong conviction that you must leave the world a better place than you found it. Whatever your reason to be a great leader, you must have a higher sense of purpose and conviction to do what is right for something greater than yourself in all you do. This is where so many potentially great leaders stumble. We see it in the news all the time. Massive failures of moral and ethics that not only destroy the leader, but often do massive damage to their organizations. Basic leaders can get away with being virtuous for a time. Eventually, though, the lack of belief in something greater than themselves inevitably caps the leader and their leadership capabilities, or it becomes a crack in their foundation. This brings me to my next point. We often hear comments about bringing our personal lives into the workplace, or more to the point, not bringing our personal lives into the workforce. This attitude has been popularized by the phrase work-life balance. Instead, you should adopt the phrase work-life alignment. Because if we cannot be our authentic selves at work, we cannot be our best selves. Great e-commerce leaders are authentic. In the e-commerce world, we have a problem with how we often treat offshore or outsourced teams. Too often we hire or outsource work overseas to less developed countries. Then we treat the employees or contractors there worse than we would treat them if they were local or in our in-house team. The irony of this is profound. These are other countries, and the people there, while amazing and beautiful, often have fewer resources and less infrastructure. They are often simply doing more with less. Certainly, we often pay them less. Yet we treat them worse than we would treat our own local teams. Why? The problem is one of authenticity. If you are supportive and understanding in one environment, you should be the same in another. If you are firm and demanding of high and exacting standards with one team, you should do the same with all the teams in your care. To be a great e-commerce leader, you must be consistent in your beliefs, delivery, and expectations. Which highlights the need for great e-commerce leaders to be sure they are getting insights from all teams. This principle is nonpartisan. Great e-commerce leaders are also nonpartisan. In his book, Leadership is an Art, the late, great Max Dupree explained that a janitor should not own a decision to determine whether or not the company makes a stock split. Makes sense, right? That is a decision for the CEO. However, he went on, in the same manner also, the CEO should not own the decision of what mops the janitors use. That is a decision for the janitors. Are you a CEO choosing mops for janitors? Great e-commerce leaders listen to insights and feedback from vendors and partners, customers and suppliers, employees and freelancers, innovators and thought leaders. In this cutting-edge field where change happens in the blink of an eye, you are committing virtual suicide if you stop looking for new ideas and feedback. Let's say you're choosing the next product information management platform. Here's what great e-commerce leaders do. They interview everyone who will use the tool or be impacted by it. Administrative and operational employees, integration partners or vendors, IT and technology department teams, end users and customers. They create and utilize a decision matrix that includes everything from each of those teams or representatives on them. They'll let each person involved weight and score features and values for the platform. The result is a guide to input all that involved and impacted on the platform. The final decision needs to be determined by these scores, need not be determined by these scores, but it should be guided by these scores, weighted and influenced by it. For an example of a decision matrix document and how to use one of these, an example I used on a previous e-commerce platform, you can visit the downloads page. You can access it, and it's even Excel format, I think, so you could even repurpose it. E-commerce moves fast. We're all under pressure to make decisions and grow quickly. If we move quickly at the expense of listening to others impacted by our decision, it will cause trouble down the road, though. This is a common failure by poor leaders in e-commerce. They often look too short-term, or they may focus on one aspect of a decision at the expense of others. To be a great e-commerce leader, servant leaders are also thorough. Proverbs tells us, where there is no vision, the people perish. We spoke about great e-commerce leaders putting vision before plan earlier. That is the start of being thorough. The next step of being thorough, after a vision is cast, is to go wide and long. It is tempting in e-commerce and really in business in general to trade long-term gain for short-term wins. This can be exemplified by the countless little enhancements we often make to our platforms. We can add this chatbot. We can insert a new red feedback tracking tool. We can boost our SEO with that provider. We can increase speed with another host. We can improve on-site search with a new data model. Before you know it, the overall user experience can become distorted, inconsistent, and confusing. Great e-commerce leaders know how to balance continuous improvement with the thorough nature of maintaining an overall experience. Avoid death by 1,000 cuts and make sure you're not stealing from tomorrow to pay for today. And there you have it. Being an e-commerce leader is not easy. Being any leader is not easy. But remember, being a leader is not an achievement to reach. It is a commitment to serve. Being any leader requires hard work. But if you want to be great at e-commerce, do these things first. Put people before technology. Understand the challenge before you define the solution. Put vision before plan. Nobody's inspired by your Gantt chart. I'm sorry. Put data before instinct. Identify the data that matters most to each decision you're considering. Put partnerships before transactions. When we contract with vendors, we produce transactions. When we partner with people, we drive solutions. Put other before self. Practice servant leadership. These are the secrets I've learned from great e-commerce leaders over 2 decades of working in the trenches. I hope they help you. You can find the notes, slides, free tools from this presentation, my free servant leadership course, and more at radiantforest.com/downloads. If you have any questions or would like to contact me, I can be reached at ben@radiantforest.com. Thank you for having me. Make it a great day, and remember, keep serving.